Hey folks, something a little bit different today. You may have received this email that you can see on the screen at the moment, or if you're in the official Crusader Kings 3 Discord, they also called this out. This is a link to a survey, Your Kingdom, Your Call. Share your thoughts on the future content of Crusader Kings. And this really is a survey all around, like what we want to see in Chapter 5, Chapter 6, in the future of Crusader Kings. What kind of content do we want to see? What do we want to see included in that content? And for the rest of the video, I'm going to go through this survey so we can talk about it in the comments down below. See what we think about this, what kind of answers you would put. I would say go fill this out if you have got the email. Or like I say, if you go in the official Discord, there's also a link in there as well to fill this out. So the first thing, very simple, just like when did you play Crusader Kings, etc. So obviously I've played it since before release. No, I've obviously played it when the game was released. I've played this, yes, well over 1,000 hours. Do you play with any mods? I play mostly with flavor mods, I'd say. I'm sure some of you will say full conversion mods, but I will say for the most part, I generally play with flavor mods. What player archetype fits you best? I mainly focus on role-playing. I enjoy role-playing and the systemic challenges second. I enjoy systemic challenges and role-playing second, or I mainly focus on overcoming systemic challenges. I'd probably say roleplay first, systemic challenges second, creating an empire through well-planned marriages, surviving overwhelming odds. Yeah, that sounds like my live streams. Let's go with that one for this one. How do you play the game? I play with a goal in mind, pursue it as efficiently as I can. I play with a goal in mind and then go with the flow. I usually play with no specific goal in mind or the same again, but regardless, I play optimally based on the situation. I probably go with the second one. Goal in mind, I always say this, I play this game with a goal of some kind, and then just kind of play the game and see what happens. Never min-maxing, never taking like the optimal route, but I ultimately generally get where I want to go. So that's the first page. We're going to go on to the second page here. Please elaborate on the goals you pursue. Let's just press next on that one. I don't really mind. We're going to fill this one out properly after this video, but I just want to talk through this because there's some very interesting pages coming, especially this one on a scale of 5 to 1, not 1 to 5. I mean, it means the same thing. It's just weirdly written there, I guess. How appealing is the theme of trade and merchants in Crusader Kings 3 to you? I'm going to say 4 out of 5. I'm looking forward to trade republics and things like that, but I will say I'm probably not like super hyped for it. It depends what the content's like, but I'm sure many of you will probably put 4 or 5 for this one. And then what would you most like to experience when engaging in this gameplay? So you can put in this section, I want to be able to build trade routes, I want to have all these ports places, I don't know, whatever you're looking for in trades and merchants. And then interestingly, the next page is a breakdown of features we could see in a Trade and Merchants DLC for this game. So this is Trade Republics, Trade. So let's go through these. So the first one is Land Trade. I think we all want that. Merchant Republics, I mean, you've got to do that if you're doing Trade and Merchants. I mean, that's kind of a silly question, to be honest. Non-Merchant Republics, I mean, I guess it doesn't really fit with a theme, but sure. Landless Merchant Gameplay, I'm not too sure how that would work, to be honest. Like, non-landed merchants, I guess you could just travel around trading things. To be honest, I'm sure this could be good, but I'm not exactly dying for that kind of gameplay. Naval trade, I think you'd have to do that, obviously. Non-merchant trade, trading as a feudal ruler. To be honest, I'm undecided on that. It would really depend on what the actual mechanics were for that. Production chains, no, I don't want that in Crusader Kings, if I'm being honest. Buildable infrastructure, you've got to have that. Markets, ports, trade posts. Trade routes themselves, yes. I did a video a long time ago now, probably 2 or 3 years ago, that trade routes should be craftable by the player. Using the travel system, you would go from like Venice to, I don't know, Riga, and you would actually draw out the route, like you do when you go traveling places, draw out the route, and then you could have mechanics all based around that. So I think trade routes would definitely come in. Economic diplomacy, embargoes, trade deals. I'm not sure about this one. To be honest, to me, that seems more like a Europa Universalis mechanic than a Crusader Kings mechanic. And then the last one is banking. I guess banking would seem fine on here. So I think what they're really looking for is what kind of things are we looking for in this DLC when it comes next year. I think we're definitely getting this. I mean, this pretty much confirms we are. We were already told it was probably coming next year, but this I think does mean we are getting some kind of trade mechanics. Now I think we'll get Merchant Republics, we'll get some kind of trade. Trade goods is interesting. I think I actually missed that one when I was reading these out. Now, I wouldn't want this to work like it does in Europa Universalis, where every county has a trade good. I think for Merchant Republics and trading, there should just be like special resources on the map. So not everywhere, maybe there'd be like gold, silver, gems, some kind of special resource around that you would then trade. I don't think I want every county, like there's wood here, there's, furs here, there's, I don't know, mercury in this other place. Whatever it is, really. I don't think I want the whole map having that and then you trade them between yourselves. Again, to me, that doesn't really fit Crusader Kings. I think if there were just special areas of the map that had special resources, and then you could build trade routes between them, because ultimately, I think for trade and merchant republics, I don't want everyone trading. I kind of want just merchant republics trading, and then that be their like special mechanic, and you build on that. And then you could have these areas where maybe you go to another realm, maybe you go to like Mali and say, hey, you've got gold mines, can I set up a mine there? And then I can trade it around the world and I'll give you a cut of the money and things like that. Let me know what you think about it. But this was very interesting to read through. We can get an idea, I think, of what they want to do with this DLC. I, again, don't really want production chains or really trade goods around the map. I think there are other ways they could do this and still make it interesting. The next page is on a scale of 5 to 1. How appealing is the theme of feudalism and crusades in Crusader Kings 3? I mean, we're playing a game called Crusader Kings, so let's say very appealing, because we do need some updates for this, especially Crusades. Yeah, it's a bit of a meme now. This will be the 5th year of DLC, and the crusading side of the game is kind of a joke still. So let's press 5, and then we're going to get the similar thing here. Which feudalism and crusade mechanics are we interested in seeing being expanded or even added to the game? And the first one here, Edict. Liege decrees their taxes will be increased for the next 10 years. Sure, this is fine. Vassal directives, aren't they already in the game? Kind of a weird one to have in there. I guess it means like expanded, so you could tell them to do other things. Maybe you could tell a vassal to go to war with somebody else, maybe. Say, hey, I'll give you some money, why don't you go do a war or something? Peace negotiations, I think peace negotiations kind of work fine. Again, I wouldn't want it to be like EU4, EU5, where you could take massive swathes of land in one war, where you could just do like, oh, I'm going to go to war for this one county, and then I win the war so badly, I could take way more stuff off you. Again, I don't really want to see that in Crusader Kings. I'm sure many of you will disagree. But I think, to be honest, peace negotiations generally work okay in Crusader Kings. There probably is some improvements here or there, though. The next one is vassal management. I'm sure there are some improvements here that could be made. Next is feudal contracts and obligations. Again, not knowing what this mechanic means, it's kind of hard to kind of rate in a grid here how much I really want that. The next one is more focus on playing as a vassal. I mean, sure, it would be cool for some more mechanics, I guess, but again, I think they're kind of fine, to be honest, as a vassal. Crusade situations, more roles and actions, yes, 100% this. I've always said I would love to see, maybe not every crusade, but like every 3rd or 4th crusade, be like a special situation, be like a mini struggle or something like that, so the crusade plays out that little bit different. Maybe would allow the two sides to kind of fight it out that little bit longer, and it doesn't just end very quickly or just goes bad very quickly. It could actually last that little bit longer and kind of see how it plays out. So I would definitely like something like this. Crusader states, I guess that just means like special mechanics for Crusader states. I think that would be pretty cool. I've also said as an unlanded character, or maybe even like a count or a duke, it would be cool to give away your land and then travel with a crusade, maybe lead an army for the Pope. And then if you're very successful, you get given a Crusader state or something. I think that would be some pretty fun mechanics to play out. Temporary buildings during Crusades. This could be fun, actually. Take lands in a siege and then be able to build like a temporary fort or something there. That would be actually pretty interesting. I don't think we've seen anything like that previously. Dread and Tyranny. They're obviously already in the game. It would be cool to get some additional mechanics around that. Vassal stances, vassal agendas. I think we kind of have that already. I think there's other things to focus on that are a little bit more important than that. Next is alliance pacts. I think the alliance system could do with a major rework in this game. It's just way too easy to cheese it as a player. I think it would be cool that marriages didn't give you full alliances to begin with. Maybe they were non-aggression. Maybe if you gave so much in the deal, they would be full alliances. But I think it would be a lot better for the game if alliances weren't just this kind of cheat code to bringing in free armies for your wars. If you play on the hard mode they entered, it is a lot harder to get these alliances, and I think that actually does play a lot better. It would be cool to get some kind of rework on this, so every alliance you got wasn't necessarily a full military alliance, and it would be something along the lines of, you know, non-aggression, or maybe just like closer family ties or something like that. I think different layers of an alliance would be cool. Maybe it even has like a ranking system where you get like an alliance level 1, and then the more your houses or dynasties marry together, maybe it upgrades your alliance level, something like that. Maybe not so gamified. Let me know what you think about that kind of idea, but I think this area of the game could do with some improvement. The next one is Holy Orders. I think it would be fun if you could play as Holy Orders and then just stay as that kind of government type and have these different, you know, Hochmeisters and stuff that you play as, and you didn't have like normal succession, and you had more of like the most preferred person in charge, or maybe you could have some skullduggery and someone really terrible takes over, I think there's a lot of mechanics around holy orders which could be fun. The next one is council. I don't know, maybe a hot take. I think the council system generally works fine in Crusader Kings. Sure, there could be some improvements, but I think the other things listed here would be more important than that. And then the last one, loyalty system. Buy 5 knights, get 1 free. I don't think that's what it means. I don't actually know what it means at all. I guess the more you're in alliances, the more you build up a loyalty. Again, kind of like I was saying, where houses and dynasties would like you more, the more you allied with them. Something along those lines, maybe. The next DLC they're going to kind of talk about here is Empires and Law. And again, how much would we like to see this? I'm just going to put 4. I think I would have to think about this that little bit more. I kind of feel like for this subject, they should do this section first and then ask you how much you would like it. It's kind of hard to judge that first and then see what they're kind of thinking about for this DLC. But anyway, for Empires and Laws, the first one is Imperial Administration and Bureaucracy. I guess they don't mean like the Byzantine admin government type. I wonder if they mean just like empires having special laws, special bureaucracy, and mechanics. I think that is badly needed. Empires just play out the same as kingdoms in this game. So I think it would be cool if we got some kind of special mechanics. Definitely some HRE empire mechanics. That would be fantastic as well. The next one is customizable succession laws. To be honest, I'm not sure about this without seeing what it would be. I think the succession laws work fine in the game. Yes, people hate Gavelkind, but guess what? That's how it generally worked in history. So I think this is fine. If you want Primogenitor early, just download a mod and have Primogenitor from the start. But I could see how you could have some fun, I guess, like customizable ones. I'm not too sure, though, versus everything else, how important that one is. The next one is legal reforms and codification. Again, without seeing what this is, I have no idea what they're talking about, to be honest, so I'd probably just say this is nice. Religious and cultural freedoms. I'm not too bothered about that, to be honest. Vassal integration and autonomy options. That one would be good. They talked about this in a recent dev diary, saying that for the new DLC, they might allow it where larger empires would then allow like duchies and counts to attack other empires without dragging in the full empire tier. I think that would be pretty cool. I think it would make those larger empires a little bit less daunting to go up against, and would also make some border war skirmishes go on, which I think would be pretty fun, especially if you're playing in that area. I think it would be pretty interesting. I'm sure it's probably talking about other things, but that's what comes to mind for me. The next one is army laws and military reforms. Now, we've talked about this a little bit on my live streams. I don't think we'll ever get like a full military rework in this game. I know that's what some people want, but I think we're so far into the game now, if they did a full military rework, it would just be way too much work. But I think what they could do is change how the units are used. We've talked about this previously. They could bring back a version of the Crusader Kings 2 system where you have like the center and then the 2 flanks of your armies. You could then put knights into those positions as commanders. It would give you a little bit more control. It could make it that little bit more interesting. And then they wouldn't have to fully rework all the units, which, to be honest, I don't think they will ever do. But it would bring another layer of strategy into your battles that could be interesting. But then you could always have an option to automate that bit if people weren't that interested. I think there is some stuff they could do with this. Council roles and decision-making powers. I think it's kind of fine how it is. Empire-wide policy implementation. I think when we get some kind of HRE rework, we'll get something along these lines where you can specialize certain stuff. So I think that is definitely coming anyway, no matter what people put here. And that's all the ones for that section. The next one they're going to talk about is the theme of religion in Crusader Kings. Now, let me know what you think before we get into this one. Do you think these 3 areas are the 3 DLCs we'll get next year, or a combination of these will be the 2 main ones? I think that is the case. I think that's why they're asking. You could have an empire system plus a religion system as one DLC, I think, and have that, and then trade republics as the other DLC. But we'll see, obviously, when we do find out. I'm going to just say 4 here again. Again, I'm going to redo this myself once I'm not doing this video. So what would we want to see in a religious mechanics DLC? So the first one is pilgrimages and holy sites. I think they definitely could make improvements on this. I think the pilgrimage side is generally okay, but I think holy sites should work very differently, or at least some improvements to it. If you capture another religion's holy site, there should be something that happens there. Maybe other rulers can attack you to kind of liberate that holy site. Maybe you can like desecrate that holy site, and then obviously the people of that religion will like, you know, super hate you and really try crusade against you, something like that. I think there's a lot of work around holy sites they could do. The next one is heresy development and suppression. Definitely room for improvement there. It doesn't really happen that much in the game. I know you can get these little heresies that break out, but they don't really do anything for the most part. I think it would be cool if you saw one like pop up and then they went on like a crusade of their own or something like that. They would gather units together and say like, hey, we're going to spread our religion around this area. I think it could mix the map up quite a bit if they did happen. Not like all the time, but I think it would be interesting if they did. The next one is religious councils and synods. I think this could be interesting. Again, without seeing what they would actually do, it's kind of hard to judge it. But I think it would be cool to have these meetings like happened historically, and then you could change like some tenets in the church or something like that. Religious buildings, great projects, artifacts. I mean, we're kind of getting great projects in the next DLC. Religious buildings, I think it kind of mixes in with holy sites. I'm not too sure, again, without seeing what their idea is here. It's kind of hard to kind of think what they could be. Next one is church hierarchy and influence. We need a college of cardinals. We need all the kind of like intrigue around that. Definitely need that improving. Interfaith relations and diplomacy. Again, this would be pretty cool. So you'd have like the Crusades on one side, but then you would have religious relations, diplomacy, and there could be some mechanics around that. Think of how like Iberia could play out differently, that kind of thing. Monastic orders and their roles. Maybe you could be a landless monk, go around converting people. Who knows? Could be interesting. Religious casus belli and warfare, again, everything around the Crusades needs improving. I think we all know that, so we don't need to hang around on that one too much. And then the next question is, do you have any comments on the future content of Crusader Kings 3? Any particular part of the game you would like to see expanded upon or added? I think many of you might put Sunset Invasion Part 2, please, and then just leave it like that. And if we all do that, that will definitely happen. So Sunset Invasion Part 2, send, and we'll get it, guys. You know you want to do it. Go on Reddit, say, hey, Malforian wants Sunset Invasion Part 2. Let's all do it. Let's get this filled out. If every player of the game does this, we're going to get the Aztecs. Let's get it done. But more seriously, I think many of you will probably say some of the craziest stuff in Crusader Kings. Maybe I don't want to play chess with death in this game, but it would be cool to get some more of those kind of wacky events. I know they took them out. They said that they wanted Crusader Kings to be a little bit more, I'm going to say realistic. You can all laugh about that in the comments down below. But I think they wanted it a little bit more grounded this time round. But I think it is probably time, maybe not next year, but the year after probably, to bring in some more of the crazy stuff. I don't really want societies back. I think they were a bit weird. Maybe if they were reworked, it would be cool. But I think some kind of, you know, spiritually stuff or some kind of like weird stuff, things that were believed at the time to be true around witches and all that kind of stuff, maybe bring some of that back and make it a little bit more interesting. Maybe play as a landless witch and go around converting people. Who knows? Could be pretty fun. But anyway, let me know what you put in that box. So this is really interesting. This is the first time I think we've ever seen anything like this for Crusader Kings. I don't think it's that they're like running out of ideas or anything like that. Don't think that. I think they're just looking and saying like, hey, next year we're probably going to do trade. We're probably going to do some kind of empire religion rework. We're probably going to do something else. Let's see what the players are wanting. They're probably getting to that point now where they're planning next year's content if they haven't already. Like I say, it's probably going to be the three main things they talked about here, but they really want to see as players, what kind of things are we looking for? Maybe it doesn't match what they thought we're looking for, and then I guess we'll see in the future if they agreed with us, if they didn't agree with us. I'm not somebody who says players should decide everything, but it is cool that they're looking at this and saying like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to play in the game? At the end of the day, it's for players. Let's see what they think. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below around this. What answers did you put? What kind of mechanics here that they talked about would you be interested in? Hit that like button if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I cover all the news around Crusader Kings and also EU5 at the moment. It'll be interesting to see what happens coming from this survey. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you all next time.